Chapter 3 Numb. The 6-kilometre run and the birthday messages boosted James's mood. But it sank as soon as he sighted the apartment complex that counted for home. The Brezhnev apartments were a 3-storey block that had been built for AeroCity's elite during the communist era. It was now owned by an elderly relative of Denis Oberdin, who collected the rent but spent little of it on keeping the building in shape. The interior walls were decorated with dangling wallpaper and clumps of mildew. The boiler room in the basement only provided warmth and hot water when it fancied, and the prefabricated sections from which the apartments were constructed were badly cracked, and didn't seem up to a strong sneeze, let alone a Russian winter. Despite this, the small community of foreigners who worked in Aero City all resided here and stumped up the extortionate rent because it was protected by Vladimir Oberdin's best police officers. Any foreigner brave enough to set up home elsewhere could expect to find their valuables stolen if they were lucky, whilst the unlucky found themselves brutally mugged or escorted to one of the city's 2 cash machines to make a withdrawal at knife point. When the victims complained to the police, they were greeted with indifference and advised to move back into Mr. Oberdin's apartment block. Damp hung in the air as James stepped through the entrance. Most of the lighting tubes were either burned out or flickering. After squelching up 4 flights on damp carpet, James cut down a short corridor and put his key in the door of apartment 217. The interior was slightly more accommodating than the public spaces. There was a modern kitchen and bathroom fitted by a previous tenant, and some half-decent furniture. But no amount of airing quelled the damp that penetrated every fibre of the building. "Honey, I'm home," James yelled as he slammed the front door and dumped his backpack on the hallway carpet. He put his head around a bedroom door where his fake aunt and uncle stood in their underwear. Cheap body spray hung in the air, and the smart clothes laid out over the double bed showed that they were getting ready for an evening out. "Oops," James gasped, embarrassed as he sighted the giant knickers stretched over Auntie Isla's cellulite-pitted bum. Uncle Boris stood buttoning up his shirt. He was in his 40s, a bird-like figure who stank of small brown cigars. He wore a pair of aviator-style glasses with a dark orange tint, even on the gloomiest Russian days. "Come on in, James," Isla smiled. "Don't be shy. How did it go at the compound?" "I didn't get the 2 bugs in," James said, as he tried not to see too much of the decrepit body standing in front of him. "Vladimir came in and chucked me out before I had the chance to go in the kitchen, but all the others are working fine." "Don't worry yourself," Isla shrugged. "They weren't important." "Do you think tonight's meeting will be enough to secure the missiles?" James asked. Boris broke into a slightly girlish laugh. "Oh, anxious to get back to that girlfriend of yours at Cherub?" "Don't be daft," James said, shaking his head in mock protest. "I love it here. The cold, musty air, the half-starved pensioners, the corrupt cops sitting at the front gates stroking their machine guns. The fact that there's nothing to do except go to school and freeze my butt off all day, then come home in the evening and sit in front of the TV, provided the power stays on. I mean, why would I ever want to leave?" "Oberdin will either sell us the missiles or tell us to take a walk," Isla said, as she zipped up her skirt. "Either way, we'll be out of here soon. 10 days at the most." "Thank God for that," James groaned. "Have you done me any dinner?" Boris nodded. "Macaroni cheese in the fridge. It'll take 2 minutes in the microwave. Just make sure you give it a stir halfway through. Oh, and I checked the internet. It looks like that TV show downloaded okay. I burned it onto a DVD, so you can watch it on the big screen." "Sweet," James nodded. "That should kill half the evening." "What's the hot water been like?" "I'd stick to the bowl and sponge if I were you," Isla said. "The water pressure is down to nothing, and the shower is running close to boiling. The taps in the bathroom only provided water with a yellow tinge, so James stepped through the kitchen and ran scalding hot water into a plastic bowl before adding some cold and carrying it through to his bedroom. He caught a blast of cold air as he put the bowl on his bedside table, then splashed a crusty flannel and bar of soap into the water before shutting the door. James faced a daily choice between opening his window to clear the smell of damp and keeping it closed for warmth. After washing as well as a flannel and bowl allows and putting on clean underwear, James wandered out into the hallway and was surprised to see Isla, smartly dressed and carrying a large suitcase out of the bedroom. "What's all that in aid of?" James asked. "Looks like you're moving out." "Documents, recording equipment," Isla explained. "It was either this or that little attaché case, and it won't fit in there." Boris came out of the bedroom in a shabby suit and bow tie. "Snazzy," James grinned. "Do you like it?" Boris said proudly, totally missing the irony in James's voice. "Boris, baby, I could see you on a Paris catwalk in that get-up." Boris now realised that James was teasing him and looked slightly cross. "It's an appropriate outfit," he said, twitching his nose. "We're leaving now. I wouldn't wait up. We might not be back until 2 or 3 in the morning." "No worries," James said. "I've got my DVD and my macaroni cheese." James sauntered into the kitchen and put his plate in the microwave. While the little oven buzzed, he dashed through to the living room to set up his DVD. It clattered into the tray, and he was relieved to see that the download had worked as the title screen popped up. "When Movie Stunts Go Wrong, Volume 2. "Nice one," James told himself, as he grabbed the now steaming hot macaroni from the microwave and hoped that the DVD had something as cool as the spurt of blood when the stunt woman got her arm chopped off in Volume 1. James had laughed. Kerry had screamed and said he was a heartless pig, but they'd made up and had a great snog afterwards. The meal wasn't gourmet, but it was the kind of stodge that felt satisfying after being out in the cold all day. James put his feet up on a coffee table as a man with his arm in a sling earnestly told him that the stunts he was about to see were performed by professionals and should not be attempted at home. Then the screen cut to a scene of 2 fat men running towards each other with chainsaws buzzing in their hands. "Even with the very best preparation, the art of the stuntman is a dangerous one," the commentator said solemnly, as the fatter of the 2 men tripped over and let out a piercing scream. "Sick!" James grinned, as the stuntman rolled onto his side, revealing a huge wound in his chest. Then the screen went blank, and the lights went out. Electrical appliances shut down, as James found himself plunged into complete darkness. Sometimes a power surge caused a fuse to blow, and the caretaker would restore power within a few minutes. But James walked to the window and saw that the street lamps and all the lights in the surrounding apartment blocks were off too. This meant there was a full-scale power cut, and once the electricity went down, it never came back on before morning. All he could do was sit in the dark and try to stay warm.